My name is Tammy, and you're listening to the University of Chicago Public Policy Podcast.
Hi, this is Coco Yim from Harris School of Public Policy in University of Chicago, and this is another episode of Just China. Today we have everybody here. We have actually a new team. Can everybody introduce yourself, please?
Hello, this is Cecilia.
This is Yuanjin. I'm from math.
Hi, this is Miu, studying art history.
Hi, this is Jubing, first year MPP student from Harris.
People are getting rid of their cash. Cash is going out of fashion.
Days of overstuffed wallets in your back pocket or purse might soon come to an end.
Cash is quickly becoming a thing of the past.
So, can you tell me your name?
My name is Bjorn Olofsson.
I'm Felipe Corridor.
My name is Bennett Michaels.
Nadia Stamets-Silver.
And when was the last time you were in China, and where did you stay?
I was in China for 2 months this summer, and I was in Shanghai.
I was there all of June, July, and August, and I was staying in Shenzhen.
The last time I was in China was this summer. I was there working from about June to September, and I was in Shanghai.
We stayed in Beijing, Hangzhou, and Shanghai. It was for 6 weeks total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're in all of those cities, how did you pay for things on a day-to-day basis?
I used cash.
I had to carry around cash at all times because nowhere in China really takes credit cards.
I would say the vast majority of my everyday purchases were using Alipay.
Usually with WeChat or sometimes cash, but it was a lot harder to get cash because ATMs were not very common. And
so you were able to access WeChat?
Yeah, it took a while to get it set up, though, probably about a week.
Okay, so having used WeChat Pay, would you say it's difficult to get around without it?
Yes, 100%. China's not built for foreigners to pay very easily.
Cash works, but honestly, cash is not good enough compared to WeChat Pay or Alipay. It's much better at this point for you to have those apps, and people kind of look at you weird, a little when you pay with cash. They'll accept it. They'll always accept cash, I guess.
I used cash for about my first week I was there until I opened my bank account and was able to use Alipay, and it was pretty difficult. And some vendors, especially some small mom and pop shops for food and things, won't actually sell to you if you don't have cash.
So they only take mobile payments?
There were some that only took mobile payments.
Was there any use of the WeChat Pay or Alipay that shocked you when you were there?
I guess what I just mentioned, how much it how big it was, other than for just normal payments to vendors, how the way people use it amongst each other.
A guy in a hostel from China, we went for a run together, and then he wanted to pay for something, but he's like, I was like, I don't have my wallet, and he's like, I don't have my phone, so I can't pay for it. It's just the way that they think about paying for things is completely different.
Yeah, okay. So I was walking, and I see some trees with a WeChat thing on it, and I'm like, why do trees have a WeChat thing on them?
You mean a QR code?
Yeah, I mean a QR code. There was a QR code, but it was a WeChat, you were supposed to use your WeChat to do it. I was very shocked by that. I was very confused why the trees would have this.
Did you ever find out what they were for?
No. No, I did not.
Well, I would say one that my first time going to China a few years ago was the first time that I saw this, and I noticed it again this summer, was actually I would notice sometimes beggars on the streets would have cardboard signs with QR codes on them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so instead of asking for spare change, you could actually use one of these apps to send them money.
Oh, wow.
So that was definitely something that I saw that was shocking to see, because certainly we're not at that point in America.
Any one of you know what's up with the thing with the QR code on the trees? Have you ever seen those in China? Because I don't know that this happened. So
there might be some kind of advertising.
Advertising?
Yes, there are a lot of QR codes for advertising. In my school where I studied my BA, I studied my BA in China.
That's so interesting.
Yes, especially in universities, because young people with those in universities are the most target of this kind of cashless and new things.
Oh, my guess initially I heard the story from Jessica's interview with American students on campus. I thought that the reason why the trees have QR codes is because the government wants to educate people on climate change and global warming and tree protection. And so, okay, that makes sense. So it's probably just small business owners wanting to promote their own. Okay, interesting. This episode of Just China, we're going to talk about cashless economy in China. And we're going to explore different aspects of this cashless economy. Big players like Tencent, WeChat, Alipay, the government, and small business owners that have stores in physical space or online presence, and also on an individual level. And so we're going to display to our audience different interviews that our team has done. So there are two giant mobile payment service providers in China, and Alipay is one of them. It has over 700 million users. And I know, Bing, you interviewed Chen, the head of marketing and business operations at Alipay of North America, to discuss why cashless payments caught on so rapidly in China and like why it is not in the US. So like, can you tell us more about this?
Jiang, can you first introduce the business of Alipay North America a little bit to us?
In the US, our major business is to serve Chinese tourists who are Alipay users. Our major strategy in the US is to expand our partnerships with merchants. When Alipay users come to the US, they can see Alipay, open Alipay, and easily use Alipay. Our strategy is to follow Chinese consumers and provide best payment services. The best payment services include not only payment, but also include coupons, services in the APP, etc.
From my personal experiences, Americans use mobile payments less than Chinese. What are some reasons in your opinion?
There are many reasons. I think there are four major ones. First, the US payment market is a traditional card-based one. When you look at Visa, MasterCard, Discover, their systems are well developed. Thus, even though some new payment methods emerge, such as Apple Pay, Google Pay, compared to card payments, those new ones are not well accepted. Also, the merchants are much more familiar with card payments than other payment methods. So that is decided by social contexts. Second, another major function of mobile payment, besides payment function, is peer-to-peer, P2P transfer. For example, we can use Alipay, Red Packet. My point is, the use of peer-to-peer transfer drives the use of mobile payment because people are getting used to transferring money digitally and via mobile. On the contrary, in the US, there are many limitations on peer-to-peer transfers. Third, from the merchant side, many American merchants use integrated systems. Thus, it is a challenge to integrate the new mobile payment method with the systems. However, there are a lot of benefits. For example, in a recent Nielsen report, nearly 60% of surveyed merchants see growth in both foot traffic and revenue after adopting Alipay. Fourth, about the macro environment for fintech innovation. Understandably, the US has a mature payments market where there are many rules and regulations surrounding payments. In China, the mobile payment giants are developing very fast. The companies work closely with government regulators to remain compliant and work out new fintech legislation. So, although mobile payments are regulated in China, the government allows and encourages innovation, which helps China develop mobile payment technology faster than other countries and leapfrog.
Thank you so much, Bing, for reaching out to Chen for the interview. Bing, what has you learned from the interview regarding why mobile payments develop so fast in China but not in the US?
Ironically, China's slowness to adopt more traditional technologies and payment systems in the past actually drive the rapid development of mobile payment today. I'm talking about here mostly about the slowness to adopt personal computers or non-cash payments like checks or credit cards. If we look at official government statistics, we can see that the number of internet users in China is growing pretty quickly. Although only about 58% of the population was actively using the internet in 2018, what's interesting is that 90% of those active internet users access the web through mobile devices. And while the number of mobile internet users keep climbing, laptop internet users are simultaneously declining. 15 years ago, there was no smartphone, but computers were too expensive for many people. But now, smartphones are just so cheap. In 2017, 90% of Chinese aged 18 to 34 own a smartphone. There are lots of local mobile phone brands in China, and they are cheap. Most of them are 50% or even 15% of the price of an iPhone. Because of this, many people, especially those in rural China, first learn how to use the internet on their phones, but not by computer. So merchants and e-commerce companies usually have well-designed mobile platforms because more customers do online shopping by phone rather than by computer.
So another thing that I caught on from Sean's answer is that he mentioned something about the credit card system that is more mature in the US than in China. So can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure, another important technological development that influenced the development of mobile payment in China is the payment system itself. As he mentioned in his interview, the US has a mature card-based traditional payment system, but China does not. People will pay in cash mostly before the development of mobile payment. In 2005, less than 15% of payments made in China were through card, and credit card still remains a niche payment method in China. That is to say, before mobile payments came to China, there was not a good enough payment solution. Also, Chinese consumers had essentially no documented credit history. Although Americans still use checks a lot nowadays, and most people use credit card here, on the other side of the world, in China, many young Chinese do not know what is a check and what is credit system. A mobile payment company needs to do marketing towards individual consumers and expand partnership with merchants at the same time, right? WeChat Pay and Alipay's parent companies, Tencent and Alibaba, these two companies have huge advantages in doing this. They own the most popular social messaging and social media apps, named WeChat and QQ. So they have a very large customer base. Also, Alibaba, Baidu, and Tencent together found 30% of China's top startups, including a China version Uber, a China version Groupon, and a China version Uber Eats. So WeChat Pay and Alipay can easily and quickly build partnership with the merchants. So they benefit a lot from this ecosystem.
Right, so I'm assuming that a lot of businesses will be using this platform because it's so widely used. Everybody's like, in analytical politics, like an equilibrium, right? When everybody else is using this technology, it makes sense when, you as an individual, you also hop onto this bandwagon. So let's talk about government's role in this. Cecilia, you did some research on the government's regulation, right? What is its part in this?
Anything so successful is always destined to come under the spotlight of the people and the state as well.
Definitely.
So WeChat's services are not only for the general customer, it's subsidized by the Chinese government since 2011 and aided by its ban of both Facebook in 2009 and also WhatsApp. Technology from Tencent has been used by Chinese police to monitor crowds in some public events as well, and that's part of the regulations that actually help the growth of the two big companies in the market.
So Cecilia, do you see the government having policy that actually regulate, the use of, for example, the big data that these mobile online apps is collecting? Because a lot of people are using these WeChat and Alipay to online shopping, for example, for a Singles Day, a huge shopping festival in China. These apps are collecting all these individual consumption behavior. So is the government regulating these big data use? I mean, this is a huge topic globally. And if you're looking at Facebook and also the apps connected to Facebook.
Yeah, companies operating in China are bound by the mainland's law and regulations. So this basically means the government has access to all the data they own. It can be a wonderful tool to fight economic crimes and also tax evasion, but in some cases, it also raises some privacy concerns for the people, for the users.
Interesting.
The two major players in China, Tencent and Alibaba, contribute hugely to China's mobile payment. Despite the sophisticated system I just mentioned in China to wall off China's internet from major players like Google and Facebook, the Chinese internet is thriving. In fact, many believe that this separation between the internet in China and that in the rest of the world has allowed for the evolution of some pretty unique services and innovations. China has copied a lot of Western internet services. Taobao resembles eBay and Amazon. Baidu looks a lot like Google. But have you ever noticed those new little features on Messenger that let you split payments within a group chat, or the icons that let you navigate the features of other apps without leaving the iMessage app itself? That idea was taken from China, inspired by the Chinese so-called super app WeChat. Since WeChat's launch in 2011, it soon became China's most popular social media and messaging app.
So you mentioned about the two big players, including I think Tencent and Alibaba, and their names were also mentioned by Chen during Bing's interview with him. why do they have like advantaged position in China? What are so special about them? These two big companies, they already built like favorable relationships with like they have the best like advertising network that they can utilize. What do you have, Cecilia?
Yeah, so WeChat unique ecosystem is actually about it has all of the functions you can imagine in a single app, like ordering food, pay utility bills. Those functions in the West, people actually